If you cannot get this with your hearing aids, you may as well not get hearing aids at all. Hey guys, Cliff Olson, Doctor of Audiology and founder of Applied Hearing Solutions in Phoenix, Arizona, and in this video, I'm talking about why high-frequency amplification is so critical if you actually want to hear better with your hearing aids. When looking for a new set of hearing aids, it's hard not to get excited about all the new bells and whistles you see inside of today's technology releases. And rightfully so, as hearing aids have developed from simple amplifiers to basically full-fledged health devices that do pretty much everything other than cook you dinner. I mean, we're talking about Bluetooth connectivity, rechargeability, deep neural networks to separate speech from noise, and even health data tracking. But there is one key feature that your hearing aids have to have if you want to hear your best. And if your hearing aids do not have this feature, then none of these other features really matter. And the feature I'm talking about is high-frequency amplification. Now I know high-frequency amplification doesn't sound too exciting, but if you do not have the ability to amplify high-frequency sounds, then you are not going to be hearing very clearly with your hearing aids. However, being able to hear high-frequency sounds is perhaps the most important thing if you have a hearing loss, and I'm going to explain exactly why in this video. But before I do me a huge favor, hit the like button, really helps out the channel, and if you are not yet subscribed to the channel with notifications turned on, go ahead and do that as well, it is greatly appreciated. And huge shout out to Oticon for sponsoring today's video, but more on them in a little bit. Also, let me know down in the comment section if you happen to have a high frequency hearing loss, and if you're currently using hearing aids that get you these high frequencies back. Now I would have to say that lack of high frequency amplification is the reason why so many people come in to see me in my clinic and they report that they can hear that people are talking, they just can't understand what they're saying. High frequencies are extremely important for several reasons. The first one being that's where the consonant speech sounds reside. Ask any audiologist or speech language pathologist and they will all tell you that the vowel sounds of speech give you the perception of volume and the consonant sounds of speech give you the perception of clarity. If you look at the different speech sounds, also known as phonemes in the English language, plotted on an audiogram, you can see that the vowel sounds are in the low frequency range and the consonant sounds are in the high frequency range. And for most causes of hearing loss, such as age, noise exposure, and chemical exposure, it results in a high-frequency hearing loss just like this one. This means that any of these speech sounds that are above the X's and the O's in the shaded gray region are no longer audible. Now I want you to imagine that you're playing a game of Wheel of Fortune, where you're trying to solve for a phrase, but you have none of the letters filled in. If you add all of the vowel sounds to the phrase, you will still have no idea what the phrase is saying. However, if you remove all the vowel sounds and you fill in all the consonant sounds, you'll know exactly what the phrase is. Even the human ear canal resonance is designed in a way to boost high-frequency speech sounds, which happens to give you better clarity naturally. Of course, if you have a hearing loss, this ear canal resonance is not enough to give you access to these high-frequency speech sounds, which means that you're still going to have issues. Another reason why high frequencies are so important is because high-frequency speech information is what allows you to separate speech from background noise. If you and I were to go to a noisy restaurant for lunch and I were to bring my sound level meter, it would tell me that the majority of the noise's energy is in the low frequency range. And if you have a hearing loss in the high frequency range but have normal hearing in the low frequencies, like a lot of individuals with hearing loss, that means that you can hear the background noise really well, but you don't have access to the high frequency speech information to separate speech from the noise. Of course, noise that causes difficulty hearing doesn't just exist in a restaurant. Normal, everyday sounds like traffic noise, air conditioner noise, and fan noise all create a steady state level of noise that makes it extremely difficult to hear and understand speech if you have a high frequency hearing loss. And a third reason why high frequencies are so important when it comes to hearing is localization. Localization is your ability to identify which direction sounds are coming from. When you have a high frequency hearing loss, it makes it significantly more difficult to identify which direction sound is coming from, both in your horizontal plane and your vertical plane. Imagine that you've lost your phone somewhere inside of your house, and to find it, you have somebody call it. But when it starts ringing, your high frequency hearing loss doesn't actually let you identify which direction that ringing is coming from. And heaven forbid you have a high frequency hearing loss and you're in a noisy situation and you're trying to identify which direction someone is talking to you from. At that point, you might as well just pack up your things and go home. This is why it's so important that if you have a high frequency hearing loss, you use a hearing aid that is capable of getting you back these high frequencies, like the Oticon Intent hearing aid from Oticon, today's video video sponsor. Contrary to popular belief, the majority of hearing aids that are available on the market are not very good at amplifying these critical high-frequency sounds. That's why the Oticon Intent hearing aids are my go-to hearing aids for anybody who has a high-frequency hearing loss. While most hearing aids struggle to hit high-frequency prescriptive targets, the Oticon Intent hearing aids do the best job of amplifying high frequencies of any hearing aid that I've ever measured. It's one thing to have the ability to increase high frequencies inside of a hearing aid programming manufacturer's software. It's a completely different thing to actually measure an increase in high frequency amplification inside of your ear canals. While most hearing aids tend to struggle to hit high frequency prescriptive targets, the Oticon Intent hearing aids are the best that I've ever measured. By performing real ear verification, we can actually measure how good a hearing aid is at amplifying high frequencies. This is what you typically see when trying to hit high frequency prescriptive targets with most hearing aids. As you can see, the solid line, which is the amplification of the hearing aids, is not able to hit the high frequency prescriptive targets, which are indicated by the hash mark line. However, this is what you see when you measure the amplification levels of an Oticon Intent hearing aid. As you can see, the solid line, which is the measured amplification inside of the ear canal using the Oticon Intent hearing aid, is matching up with the high frequency hash mark prescriptive targets. So if we're going to restore audibility of these high frequency consonant sounds of speech to give you clarity, the Oticon Intent is more than capable of doing so. Having access to these speech sounds is the difference between you being able to hear that someone's talking to you and actually understanding what they're saying, especially in a background noise situation. And it will also help you find your phone a little bit easier if you lose it in your house. Even third-party hearing aid testing lab HearAdvisor was able to measure the Oticon Intent's ability to hit high-frequency prescriptive targets up to 8,000 Hz during objective laboratory testing. And this high-frequency amplification ability allowed the Oticon Intent to rank as one of HearAdvisor's best hearing aids when it comes to speech and noise performance. It is really hard for me to overemphasize just how important access to high-frequency speech information is. If you have hearing loss in your high frequency ranges and all you're doing is increasing the amplification of every frequency range, it is not going to help you get clarity back. But you have to keep in mind that everybody's hearing loss is different and everybody's ear canal size and shape is different as well. This means that no matter what hearing aids you use, you have to make sure that your hearing care professional is verifying the programming using real ear measurement to ensure that you're hitting your high frequency prescriptive targets. And if those hearing aids are not able to hit these prescriptive targets, then you're using the wrong hearing aid. Now, there are just two things that my dad told me when I was young that are guarantees in life, and those were death and taxes. But one guarantee that he didn't tell me about is that if you're not satisfied with your hearing aid performance, then you are likely not getting enough high frequencies. Okay, so at this point, hopefully you have a really good understanding of exactly how important high frequencies are to get better speech clarity, better separation of speech and background noise, and better ability to identify which direction sounds are coming from. So if you do nothing else, the next time that you get a pair of hearing aids, you have to make sure that those hearing aids are capable of amplifying your high frequencies appropriately, and you have to make sure that they are verified using real ear measurement. And if you do, you are going to be in really good shape when it comes to hearing your absolute best.